Okay, we're here doing video for objectives 6 and 7 from the money textbook. So if you don't have your money textbook, hit pause, go grab the money textbook. We're starting on page 13. This should be, I think, a quicker video. Problems are all very similar. We won't have to do all the problems. The first objective, objective 6, calculate a percent of gross pay that is withheld for a specific purpose. So a certain amount of monies are withheld for taxes or insurance or investments, and we want to figure out what percent of our gross pay is held for a certain purpose. We are going to use a form of the percent equation. If you remember from percents, there's a percent formula and a percent equation. The quicker way to do this type of problem is to use a version of the percent equation, and the type to do that is you want the percent, and this would be as a decimal. Excuse the writing, it's kind of hard with the mouse. So percent as a decimal is going to equal, you're going to take the part over the whole. Okay. Now generally, when we read through the problem, so we're going to need to find the part in the whole. Generally, the whole is the bigger number. Now we saw, if you remember back in the percents unit in class, if you were in the class earlier this year, not always is it the bigger number, but a lot of times the whole is the bigger number. And especially in these problems, dealing with things that are being withheld from your gross pay, they're always going to be the bigger number. It's also, another way to remember is the whole is the number that comes after the word of when you write it out in a sentence. So let's just do probably 2 or 3 of these. We don't need to do all 6. And then we'll move to objective 7. It says here her gross pay is $106,000 last year. A total of $16,610 was withheld from her paychecks for federal income tax. Okay, it says to the nearest whole percent, so that means they're going to round it. What percent of her gross pay is withheld for federal income taxes? So I first just rewrite it out like this. They're withholding $16,610 out of the $106,000. So there's the word of. That means this is the whole. That's going to go on the bottom. Part goes on top, the part that's being withheld. We use our calculator. We hit divide. You're going to get 0.15666, a bunch of numbers after that. And then it says round to the nearest whole number. So we have to take our decimal, and we always move it 2 to the right to change it to percent. So we go 1, 2. So we have 15.66. Remember to round to the nearest whole number. You look at the first decimal. Okay, because we're rounding to here. And so we have to look at the first number after that, which in this case is the first number after the decimal. If this is between 0 and 4, this would stay at 5. Between 5 and 9, this one bumps up, so it bumps up to 16%. Okay. Let's do at least one more here. Number 32, a total of $882 in state income tax was withheld from his gross pay in 1 year. He earned $14,700. What percent of the gross pay was withheld? Okay, so again, don't look at the order that it was said. You have to look at, in a way, what was withheld out of what. So 882 was withheld out of the 14,700. Even though in the first problem, the gross pay was mentioned first and then the amount withheld. Here, the amount withheld is first, gross pay is second. But then just reword it like this. the 882 was withheld out of the 14,700. So after the word of is the whole, so that goes in the bottom. Go 882 divided by 14,700 gives you 0.06. Okay, again, you always move it twice, 1, 2, and that gives you 6%. Okay, so as you can see, the next 4 problems here, everything's exactly the same. Read through the problem, figure out how much is withheld out of how much gross pay, divide, move the decimal twice, and then round. It looks like 35 and 36 doesn't say to round, so you would just, you look at those, we do the division. It's a 3 decimal number, so you move it twice. So 1, 2, it ends up between the 4 and 5 here, so it's 4.5%. Same with 36. So that's objective 6. Okay, all the problems are generally the same. And you're looking, they're asking for a percent. Objective 7, another quicker type of objective here. It's calculating an amount withheld given a percent in gross pay. So this time, they're going to give you the gross pay, but they're going to give you a percent. Okay, and then you need to find the amount that was withheld. So again, we're going to use straightforward the percent equation, which would say the part equals percent as a decimal. Again, excuse my writing. And we would take that times the whole. Okay, so that's the percent equation. So the percent is going to be the easy thing to find. The whole is going to be your gross pay. That's going to be easy to find. And then you just have to make sure you change the percent to a decimal properly and multiply. We'll just do a couple of these. Number 37 says his gross pay was $202. The percentage withheld for federal income tax is 5%. How much money is withheld? So they're withholding 5% of $202. To go from a percent to a decimal, you move the decimal 2 to the left. If there's no decimal in it, you start at the end. So 1, 2. There's one open spot here, so we have to put a 0 in there. So that's why it's 0.05 times $202 gives you $10.10. Okay. Let's do the first and the last one. So let's go all the way down to 42. This one's a little different. It has not, I don't know how you do it, but it just has a decimal in the percent. So number 42, it looks like it's a longer problem, but same information. It just says he's going to check his pay stub at the end of the year, see if there's correct amounts. He knows 1.45% of his gross pay should be withheld for federal Medicare tax. His gross pay was $48,000. How much money should be withheld for Medicare? So they're withholding 1.45% of $48,000. So again, even with this one has a decimal in the number already, so that's where you start, and you go 1, 2. So again, if there's an open spot, you have to put a 0. Okay, that's why it equals 0.0145 times 48,000 is 696. Okay, it looks like all of them, a lot of them are going to have that 0 that you need to put in there. An example where you wouldn't would be like 39. It's 16.2% of the gross pay. So when you move it twice, it is right in front of a number. Okay, so there's no open spot, so you don't put a 0, so it would be 0.612. It started out as 16.2%, then it's 0.6162, times the 438, which, and here's another good example of how you round money. There's 3 decimals here, $70 and 0.956, but with money you round two spots past the decimal. So we're rounding there. Look at the next number. This is 0 to 4. This would stay a 5. It's 5 to 9. This bumps up to a 6, which it does here, so $70.96. So that's objectives 6 and 7 in your workbook. I think there's 6 problems of each, so you would look through these, do any of them that maybe you need to do them all, maybe you don't. Maybe you think you already got it, you don't need to do any of them, but that's objective 6, answers are over here. Objective 7, answers over here. If you're not getting the right answers, ask, and I will help you out. All right, thank you.